Welcome to Artscape. I am your host, Bill Harris, and for years I think Artscape has neglected a certain scene in the art world here in Fredericksburg, and today my friend Ashleigh Chevalier is going to straighten us out on that. Ashleigh is a local musician, right?
Yes, I am.
And you are going to be reporting on some local musicians, some new local venues for us, and maybe in the upcoming future.
Yes, it'd be my pleasure.
Right, and the reason you're able to do that is because you are a local musician.
Well, yeah, it's very important.
Right, so tell before we get into what you're going to be reporting on and all the different venues and the bands and all, tell us a little bit about yourself and what type of music you make and things like that.
Well, I take a kind of indie rock approach to blues music now. I started singing classically, and I sang classically all the way through till the time I was about 20, and I started playing guitar when I was in middle school and started writing my own music, and then right around the time I was 22, I started to really go out and play by myself, and I started my first band, and then now I've had the opportunity to play with a lot of really cool musicians, and you know, I've stuck pretty much to the traditional blues for a little while to kind of really stick my feet in it, blues roots and rock, but now it's kind of molding into its own thing. So
now, how was it when you're playing at home, you're probably playing in your bedroom, how hard was it to make that initial leap to stand in front of a bunch of strangers and play your music?
I guess there's a certain amount of just being oblivious that might come along with that, because I started performing when I was 6 and I was in musical theater, and I had messed up my whole way through. So I got pretty used to getting embarrassed on stage, and it's not really that you get numb to it, but you kind of do. And then, when I started playing out, I started at open mics, and the Fredericksburg community is really, really warm and inviting, and immediately started making friends.
Just tell us real quick what an open mic is, because I think a lot of people don't realize what that is.
There are several places in the area and all over the world, actually, where you just go and you can sign up and you play a couple of songs, and you don't get paid or anything. You just get to practice, whatever you want for 15 minutes.
Right, and that's probably a really good venue to start out with, because there are all other musicians there. Everybody's probably pretty supportive.
It is. It's one of the things that really grew me as a musician, and it is where a lot of musicians get their start, and it's where the community really sees a lot of camaraderie in the music scene.
Now, you brought with you a few clips of you performing live, so
I did.
We're going to go check those out right now.
By the thumb, the diesel down just before it rained, took us all the way to New Orleans. Well, I took the honky in my dirty red bandana, and I was playing soft while Bobby sang. With that windshield wipers anytime, Bobby hold hands down, singing a song that I knew. Free on just another word.
All right, that was great. So tell me about some of the musicians you were playing there with.
Well, the first segment, I was at a venue downtown called Kybeka doing an acoustic show with Hunter Wolf, who is an up-and-coming, wonderful indie blues rock musician. The second clip was when I opened for Kansas with a band called Same Old Sound that's out of Asheville, and they have that really jam rock feeling, and I really like to work with those guys. They're a trio that does their own stuff and then will work with me occasionally, and we do some collaboration. And I like to do that because it brings a new flavor to the music and has a real nice festival feel. And then the last clip was when I had the pleasure of opening for Devin Allman's Honey Tribe at the old Silk Mill, which is a great historic venue in downtown with Linwood Taylor, who's a legend himself.
Oh yeah. So that must be, do you feel like you're a different artist when you're performing with those other musicians? Or?
No, what I do is what I do.
Right.
And that's what's really cool about working with different musicians is because what they do is what they do. So when you work with other musicians who are very strong and have their own bend, you get a new flavor, but it's still consistent because it's still my music. It's still, or it's this traditional blues tune that I'm bringing to the table.
I noticed that in town a lot of musicians play in more than one band. I think that seems to be very common to hop around and.
It is. I don't play in more than one band. I'm Ashleigh Chevalier where I'm at. Hunter Wolf has guested with a band that I work with.
Gotcha.
I don't play with several backing bands. I mean, I have a repertoire, I have a set list, I have songs that I write.
Right. We're going to talk about that in a bit too, but we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with Artscape.
I want to thank everyone for making this day so special. Dad, you've been my inspiration. I love you.
I love you too.
And Mom, I miss you so much.
Type 2 diabetes steals the lives we cherish most. But it can be prevented. Almost 80 million Americans have prediabetes, but because prediabetes doesn't always have symptoms, 9 out of 10 people who have it don't even know it. Know your risk. More importantly, do something about it. Eat better, stay active, and lose weight. You have a lot to live for. Stop diabetes for yourself and the people you love. Learn how at checkupamerica.org or talk to your doctor.
My limit is 2, and I always make sure to eat something.
If I'm out for several hours, my limit is 3.
I know my limit is 1.
Until I'm 21, my limit is always 0.
Alcohol affects people differently, but the legal limit is .08 for everyone over 21. In order to be safe and stay well below the legal limit, it's important to know your limits and know the law. To find out more, go to responsiblelimits.com.
Want to help? Make it easy on everyone. Send cash, the most effective form of disaster relief. CIDI.org.
Welcome back to Artscape, and we are here with Ashleigh, and you are here to talk about your show, A Chevalier, on Fredericksburg Live, and hopefully in the future we're going to have some more of your episodes. But just tell us about that, how it got started, and how that came about.
Well, FredericksburgLive.com is a Fredericksburg internet channel, very focused on the community, obviously. And I do a lot of music coverage in Fredericksburg. I write for several publications, local publications, reviewing artists and highlighting profiles. And Melvin came to me and said, wouldn't it be great if you started interviewing these artists and bringing them exposure on the internet? And I thought, well, that would be awesome. Right. So I started just interviewing artists that were coming through and interviewing local artists. And it's a great way to kind of integrate and cross-pollinate regionally. It helps highlight the musicians who are in Fredericksburg, and it builds their reputation. It builds Fredericksburg's music reputation. But it also enables musicians to go out and, expand themselves. So it's been a really exciting effort.
So Fredericksburg Live, someone could go to it to see, hey, what's going to be playing this weekend? You know, what bands could I see?
Sure. You can go to fredrockmusiclink.com, and that's going to have the live music calendar that I publish. Eventually, that will be on fredericksburglive.com. And you can see the full month's calendar, which, by the way, didn't used to exist, but now, I used to have to do it weekly, but now, because of the growth of the scene, venues are booked for their month through, and the promotions are even more solid, and musicians can, you can, put their stuff out on the internet, and it goes to all these sources, and it's up for a month ahead.
So in town here, the venues are booked for months at a time? I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, do the venues need more musicians, or do the musicians need more venues?
No, but it's a give and take.
Yeah, there's enough?
Yeah, I mean, it's a give and take. It depends. Luckily, the scene is growing, and you can go downtown on a Friday or Saturday night, or even a Thursday night and Wednesday night now, and go to 4 or 5 different places and hear live music. And that's really nice. It's good for the musician, and it's good for the community.
That is important.
Listener.
There's probably, are there any nights where there is no music?
Nope.
Nope?
Not anymore.
Every night?
Every night,
so
even
now,
Sundays.
You brought a clip from Ashleigh Chevalier on Fredericksburg Live with you. It's called Vinyl Logs.
Yeah, that's a segment of the show where we like to highlight the vinyl form, and the clip will tell you all about that.
Okay, so we're going to watch a clip now that appears, it's on your program on Fredericksburg Live. All right, let's go watch that clip.
So let's get to these wonderful vinyl records here.
It's very true what you were talking about. Vinyl sales have actually gone up every year for the last 11 years, and it will outlive the CD.
Yeah, I'm pretty
as we
sure.
know it.
Well, my CDs are always scratched, and I actually end up having to replace them over and over again. And I actually started collecting vinyl before I even had a turntable.
There are a lot of bands that actually will release their new album on vinyl first because they believe in and support the format. And the reason that it's continued to survive primarily is because it still is the best sounding format by far.
Well, it's got that really gritty, natural flavor. It's the closest to actually being live that you can have, even with no knocking what you do, but even with those high D TVs and all that stuff,
it's recreating an event. Right?
Yeah.
And this is as close to the musical event as you can get is a good record.
So tell us a little bit about what's going on in the back of here. Is this an original release?
Actually, no. This is a reissue of one of Muddy Waters' most famous recordings that he ever did after he came to Chicago. It's a very young, Buddy guy on here, backing him up.
Oh, wow.
And one of the things that happens with reissues is oftentimes the label will take the original session tapes and get them out of the vault and do a new mix and a new master, and they'll make a new stamper. So the actual tool that presses the vinyl is much better than it was back in vinyl's declining period through the mid-late 70s and into the early 80s. The quality of the records at that time was actually pretty poor compared to the reissues that are being done now.
Okay, so this one is an original issue.
Correct.
Right, because it doesn't have the UPC on the back of it, right?
And UPC codes didn't show up on records until reissues started being done. So the way that you kind of keep track of the record and see where it falls in the many versions of it there might be, the primary one is the catalog number, which you'll find on the spine.
Oh.
And the record and the label will assign a catalog number to it, and that'll let you know exactly which version of a record you're looking at. And